Why, hello there everyone, how's it going? I am the Kumo Sensei, and today I'm going to be doing something I don't normally do. And yeah, as you can see, I have my art thing open, and I'm going to be teaching the basics. And yes, before we get into dancing, you need to learn the dance anatomy, and this will be about a few lessons because a lot of people just want to start dancing, and that's actually a good way to start, anywhere. Just start dancing. You can dance anywhere you want to. But since I've been a dancer for over a decade, I have dance experience. I would say, okay, how should I start? I have credibility in terms of dancing, and so I'm going to explain my dance career to you so that way you can at least trust me a little bit. So, with this here, this is my tablet, and I'm going to tell you my credibility in dancing before we start, so that way you have a general idea of my dance ability. So, credibility of dancing. And hello there. Hello there, Marco. How's it going? So, credibility into dancing. Let me turn off the stabilizer. No. So, before I teach you dancing, I gotta give my credibility. So, here is my credibility in dancing. I have been dancing for over 10 years now. That looks like a 6. I've been dancing for over 10 years. I have practiced a total of... I practice around 7 to 9 different styles, but I primarily focus on 6 because that's where the favorite number is for me. I find that 6 styles, or that I incorporate, works better for me. And let's continue. So, what else can I add? I would say street dancer, because that one's pretty obvious. Now my thing's acting up, but it's okay. Just give it a little bit of time. And okay. I gotta use my mouse for a second. There it goes. And yeah, I was a street dancer during that time period, and I also competed as well. So I was a competitive street dancer, believe it or not. Competitive. I was a competitive dancer, and now I am currently a dance instructor. This is my summer part-time job. And yeah, so there goes my credibility. And now, let's start. So, what is dancing? And to answer that, is basically the expression of... I can't spell expression, that's kind of funny. It's the expression... If this thing will stop. Expression of emotion. That's basically dancing. How? That's a street dancer to Kumo lover. How? It just kind of happens. So, this is how everybody starts. It's the expression of emotion. If you feel like you want to dance, you express it through your body, as it needs to express how you're feeling. This is how a lot of people start. This is how I started. It's actually a good outlet when you're feeling depressed. Now, skills. This is something that a lot of people tend to overthink when they start dancing. But the honest truth is that it takes time to get good at dancing. Now, what you can do is to understand the fundamentals, and that's why this is lesson number 0. A lot of people, they just start dancing, and that's a good way to start, but a lot of people don't understand that dance moves are actually dance moves are up to the individual. And a lot of people don't understand what it means by this. Dance moves are really individualistic. What this means is that I'm more like a robot dancer. Well, luckily for me, for you, I practice robot dancing too. And what this basically means is that as an individual, some moves that you'll do, no matter how good you are, will look better or worse on you than on other people. And so this is why I'm going to tell you some secrets that a lot of dancers don't really talk about. And this is something you kind of have to pick up once you start dancing. But I'm going to tell you anyways, because for those who are watching, dancing has some factors that no one considers when they start dancing. So I'm going to tell you these factors, so that way when you start dancing, you'll actually have some consideration. Number one of the biggest factors when you start dancing is your height. Yes, this is height. So basically how tall or short you are. This is something that not a lot of people think about when they start dancing. So let's open a new layer and allow me to explain. So how does height play into your dance style? So what if let's start off with the short end and go down. So let's say you're short. Wait, if I can spell short. Let's say you're tiny. If you're on the shorter end of dancing, the sad news is that your range will not be as far. So in terms of your arms and how far you can move, you won't really have the same reach as a tall person. And this isn't technically this is a good thing but bad thing. Every dancer has their advantage and disadvantages. There's no perfect dancer. So what does a short person have then? Since they don't have the range as a tall person, since shorter people have shorter bones, meaning that they have shorter reach. However, the one advantage that every short person will have is that short people tend to actually have sharper moves. The moves tend to be more sharp. This is actually pretty interesting because it's something I've experienced myself. I'm only 170 centimeters tall, so I'm 5'7", 5'7". And what I noticed is that the shorter you are, the more clean and sharp your moves appear to be when you do them. And the reason why is because taller people have longer limbs. So yeah, let's say this is your arm and this is your hand and whatnot, and this is a tall person. The distance between your forearm and your arm here to your hand is much longer than a short person. So for a short person, whenever they do arm waves or any sort of tutting for that matter, it tends to look pretty much cleaner. Another advantage that short people have is that their footwork. Yes, any dance style that involves footwork or foot dancing tends to look much more faster. And the reason why is because people who are short, they tend to have shorter legs. So if you have shorter legs, when you do your footworks, it tends to look much more cleaner. This is pretty interesting actually, because for me, even though I'm not the most tallest guy, my footwork is pretty decent, but I don't really focus on footwork because I find footwork to be complicated. But this is pretty much true, by the way. And this is basically the short person's advantage. They tend to look sharper and their footwork tends to look much more cleaner. Because because any long-legged person, well, I can't draw long legs. Oh my goodness, that looks horrifying. It looks like a wishing bone from a chicken, but anyhow though, long-legged people, when they do footwork, you have to consider that footwork is not just your feet. It's also your ankles here and your thighs going up. So technically, longer leg people tend to have, I wouldn't say their footwork is worse, but it takes more of it to put into to make it look quick. So They have short people are have sharper moves and they have faster footwork. And that is the short person. So now let's talk about tall people. What if you're taller? Well, good news. While your moves may not be as sharp, if you're a taller person, I can't draw tall people. Did you do freestyle dance? I don't know what kind of music did you like. Do I do freestyle dance? Yes, I do freestyle now. I've incorporated 6 different styles into my freestyle. And what kind of music do I like? Anything as long as it has a good beat, sounds good, or something I can catch a rhythm to. To answer your question, now back to the lesson. So taller people, their footwork may not be as good. However, their range. This is one huge advantage in dance battles, is range. Taller people they can pretty much move across the dance floor pretty far because they're long-legged. They don't take as much energy. However, the disadvantages they have is that their moves tend to either look a bit more stiff, or it takes a bit more energy because of their height. However, their range is like the best advantage they have. Second thing is that their moves. Taller people tend to have, I don't know, I wouldn't say sharper moves, but they tend to have more, not really stiff, but sharp. So short people are cleaner, but tall people are sharper. It's pretty interesting. If a tall person and a short person was to go at it, you would not know who would have won, because the honest truth is that dancing really comes down to the individual. So, now you learn the difference between a tall and a short person. Now, what makes a good dancer? Normally I'd be teaching my students this stuff. I already did, but teaching online is not too bad. So, what makes a good dancer? A good dancer can do 3 things. Number 1, they can express themselves. Now, this is subjective, but this is what I see in good dancers. They're expressive. Number 2, moveset. Well, I wouldn't really say moveset. That's kind of a bit unfair. But expressiveness is this is the strongest trait that every good dancer has. The second thing is the unique. I don't want to say moveset because uniqueness. How unique or how different is their style? This is actually something that everybody will develop as they get better. And number 3, mistakes. How do I put it? Recovering, that's what it is. How do students or how do good dancers recover from mistakes? Luckily for me, I can recover from mistakes very well. Whoa, that's not how I spell from mistakes. This is something that these are the three primary things that every good dancer will have. They can express themselves or the music. They have a unique style or personality. That's the word I was looking for. Personality / character. Character. Oh man, that is the right word for certain. Character. And lastly, how well can they recover from mistakes? This is something, recovering from mistakes is something that you have to learn as you get better. And the funny thing is, everybody will make mistakes. Dancing is a learning process. No matter how good you are or how professional you become, you will make mistakes. Everything is a learning process. So for you or anyone who is struggling to dance, know that making mistakes is normal. As long as you can learn from it, and as long as you can understand where or what needs to be fixed, then you should be fine for the most part. So, without further ado, let's talk about expressing. Expressing emotions. Oh, let me write this out. Emotions. So, what is expressing emotions? Basically, it's expressing either, there's two things that people express: how you feel, so your feelings. This is something that everybody will get no matter what. Or the music. Yes, the feelings and the music. Or a mix of both of these. This is something that a lot of people may or may not be able to do, because when you start dancing, everybody thinks that everybody wants to focus on skills or the techniques, but this is not something you should focus on just yet, because a lot of people need to understand that you need to catch the rhythm, the feeling, or the music. Because what this would do is, it will basically become muscle memory. Like, you instantly, like, your instinct just tells you to start dancing. But honestly, anyone can start. Everybody learns dancing differently, but these are the two things I find when I start dancing. Some people are different, others are like me. So, feelings, here we go. We're coming after you. Catch these emotions, the feels. Oh. So, the feelings of dancing. Everybody's first feeling of dancing, no matter what, is to be cool. I don't know why, but everybody has this idea of being like, I'm like the coolest guy in the bar, yo. But in reality, being a good dancer doesn't really make you doesn't make you any better than a regular person. It just means you're just good at dancing. This is why I don't really like to flex dancing, because like even when I do dance practice videos or just dance videos in general and post it on YouTube, I don't go all out, because it's just, I don't want to be cocky. Every dancer you meet will be quite humble. Very few will be cocky. Even in the competitive dance scene, when I was still competitively dancing, everybody was humble, even my opponents. So this is pretty much where everybody wants to start at. They want to be cool, but in reality, they learn that they want to get better. They want to be better. And this is what everybody should strive for. To be better. However, they don't know where to start or how to start. And I always tell people, what is the body part that you tend to move the most with? Your hands, your feet, and whatnot. That's the thing you need to understand by getting better. Because the feeling of getting better is progression. So basically, I'm teaching you the mental capabilities that you need to start dancing. Because a lot of people don't understand that when you start dancing, you're going to be terrible. There are some shows and movies that shows that like there's a guy or a girl or a person who's never danced before, and during their first time dancing, they're like this legendary prodigy with potential. That simply doesn't exist. It's just those are fantasized movies and TV shows. Everybody who starts dancing will not be that good. And the feeling of acceptance, you and everybody need to accept that you're not going to be good the first time around. So, Now we got the feelings out of the way. Where did we... The music. This one I don't have much to say about because in terms of music, it's pretty much whatever you like or whatever gets you moving. Whatever gets you moving. It's funny because I used to dance to anime music, but I can't post it on YouTube because those videos would get copyrighted. But whatever gets you moving. How much body weight have when dancing? It honestly depends on the individual. I will go... That's actually, I was going to go over that later, but hold on for now. So, whatever gets you moving. And lastly, about music is you don't want to... the rhythm. I think that's how you spell rhythm. I think that's how you spell rhythm. Now, everybody's rhythm is different. Some people like to dance to faster beats and others slower. Honestly, for a beginner, a lot of people recommend slow beats, but it's just really on whatever gets you that feeling. Because some people, for them to start dancing, they need a faster beat than others. For me, a slow beat is great for a warm-up, and that's, yeah, basically what I do for warm-ups. But in terms of rhythm, I like more of the like a fast treble, low bass type of beat whenever I'm dancing in general. But I can pretty much dance to any type of music because I've been dancing for so long. So now on to the great question that Marco's been asking. Weight. How many kilos do you weigh? So, how many kilos or pounds do you weigh, depending on where you live? This will highly depend on your height. If you're tall, because height really comes to play, because let's say you're 79 kilograms or however many pounds this is. That is much different from a person who's shorter that is the same weight. Will this have an advantage or disadvantage? It will, but at the same time, it won't. It honestly depends on your physical build, because I've seen some people who are 50, around like 50-ish, not 50 kilograms, what am I saying? I've seen people who like, oh man, I don't even know where to begin. I've seen people that weigh exactly the same, or they look completely different. Like, one person, let's just use 60 kilograms for example, 60 kgs. Or for those who are wondering, that's around, I believe, how many kgs is that? That's like 142, 144 pounds or something. I've seen two people that weigh exactly the same, where one person is like stick, and the person is literally exact same weight and height, but they have like, oh, turn that off. Why is the eraser on? Hold up. Come on now, you little. I switched my tools. Let me fix this for a second. There it goes. So 1 kg is 2 pounds. Alright. Thank you, Marco. But as I was saying though, I've seen two people with exact same weights, but two different builds. So honestly, there is actually a saying that all of us dancers use. Well, they don't really use it anymore, but there's a saying, the mirror. There's every dancer always looks in the mirror to judge their weight, because the mirror will tell you if you're too big or too thin. Now, if you're overweight, like if you're like a giant balloon, then you shouldn't really dance because you have way too much weight. But I have seen some people who are like on the chubbier side that can dance very well. Crump, for example. Oh my goodness, that is crazy. But typically, us dancers, we use the mirror as our judge. And for me, I actually, I do work out because for me is mandatory because I gotta stay in shape. But at the same time, and you don't want too much muscle though. If there's too much muscle, then you tend to be less flexible. So equals less flexibility. So everybody needs to find a fine line between being too thin and being too fat and not having too much muscle. There's no exact weight or exact percentage to it. It's more up to the individual because everybody is different. But this saying here is pretty much true though. If you have too much muscle, you have less flexibility. There are exceptions though. If you were already a flexible athlete prior to dancing, so if you already practice yoga and whatnot prior to dancing, or like gymnastics, and you come into dancing with muscle, then it's a different story because you're pretty much born into flexibility. So there are some cases where this isn't true, but majority of the times though, you don't want too much muscle, but just enough to where it gets the job done. Now, there's also one factor that some people don't consider. It doesn't really matter, but it does in some cases, and that is genetics. Yes, how you were born. Specifically, your muscle structure. There is a muscle component to an extent. Now let's see if I can write this out. Muscle structure. Can I reach the end? Yes, I can. So, what is the muscle structure effect? There are actually pretty much, there's a few spots where muscles do matter, your muscle structure, but there's one that I really want to talk about, and that is your legs. Do you have high calves insertions on your legs? Or do you have the low insertions? I can't draw low insertions of calf muscles. Everybody is different, but these are the two general types of calf insertions that you'll see in terms of dancing. And these two, in my country, we say you're tall 180s. You get me? That's interesting. In my country, we say you're 180 centimeters tall and have 80 kg is perfect shape. So 170 centimeters second, you get me? Interesting. So 10 per 10 centimeters. That's interesting to know. So back to calf insertions. Thanks, Marco. That actually is some informative stuff on your country and in general. So here's the muscle structure everybody has. One of these two, or some type of variation, because I can't really draw that well. Okay. So what are these? So high calf insertions versus low calves. How does these two affect your dancing? If you have high calf insertions, you are technically going to be faster in footwork. So, in terms of dancing that requires foot movements, if you have high calf insertions, you should technically be faster. But if you have low calf insertions, you won't be as fast, but you'll have better endurance in terms of footwork. Now, I'm not saying you can't be fast with this type of leg structure. You can still, but this is just in general. That's the biggest difference I've seen in terms of genetics that comes into play in terms of dancing, besides height and whatnot. It's pretty interesting too, because sometimes there are people who contradict this, but it's very few and far in between. I don't know. Some people say your arm muscle structures, such as your biceps and whatnot, is also a huge I I can't draw arms today for some reason. People say your arms is also a component as well, but in my opinion, from what I've seen, I don't think your arm muscle structure doesn't really matter, because I've seen it's just too variable. That's the reason why I say that. So, where to start? Honestly, everybody has a different starting point. This is kind of the part where you either kind of wonder or you just kind of had to figure out on your own. I find that how I started, believe it or not, I had one dance lesson. This is a little bit about myself. I had one dance lesson, and then they literally threw me into a dance battle. Like, literally right after. It was kind of strange, honestly, because so I had one dance lesson and then they just went straight and threw me into a dance battle. And that's the life of street dancing. You don't really get to practice on your own. You just get put on the spot. And it was kind of confusing for me because it was like, hey, do I get to practice what I just learned? And I remember that day too. They were like, yeah, you do get to practice. Now go and challenge this guy. What? And up until then, I never had a dance battle. And that was the first dance battle I ever had. And I lost, obviously. So, honestly, everybody's starting point is different. Okay, let's see if we can. So, but if I was to start over again, I would highly recommend YouTube. Because at the time when I started dancing, YouTube didn't have much dance videos or much videos at the time, because YouTube wasn't really, it was getting big, but it wasn't as big as it is now. I think YouTube is a great starting point, or just dancing to yourself in general. Dancing or dance by yourself. Because a lot of people, when they start dancing, they're really self-conscious. Like, they're really shy. And they're kind of afraid that people will laugh at them because they look like a dead person. But, trust me, if you see me when I first started, I got obliterated. It was a one dance lesson. I went straight into my first dance battle, and I lost on the first round. Typically, there's around 2, sometimes 5 rounds per person. So so it's 5 rounds. It's just 5 rounds. I'm tripping. But I lost my first round, and that was pretty upsetting. But that kind of helped me, because as a street dancer, it forces you to get better. And trust me, I got embarrassed in front of everybody. Literally everybody was just, oh man. They were laughing at me. I was laughing too, though. Or you can go to a dance school. Dance schools is kind of subjective to people, because you can either learn a lot of stuff or you can learn nothing at all. It really depends on what the dance school has to offer for you. So I recommend that you enter into a dance school that has the style or the ways that which you can learn, because some dance schools will offer different dance styles. Not every dance school offers a variety of styles. And since I live in America, I don't really need a dance school, because America is like the home of hip hop. So in terms of hip hop dancing, back then you could just, if you're young, no problem, you made a mistake. But if you're over 30, it is not cool at all. That's not that is kind of true, but not really, man. I've taught some people that were in their late 20s, and they seem to do pretty well, actually. If you're older, I recommend that you cut less on the footwork, because I find that when I train older individuals, especially as a dance instructor, I find that anybody who's in their late 20s or in their 30s, which I have trained a little bit of people who are in the 30s, I find that footwork for them isn't the first thing to teach at all. I recommend them to actually start training their arms and then work the way down first, because that way they can slowly incorporate their legs. Because I find that as you get older, the first thing that becomes very stiff is your legs. So age does matter, but in general though, not much, honestly. Unless you're like in your 40s and 50s, when then I think you should back away from dancing then. Okay, let's talk about styles. Well, honestly, in terms of styles, it's up to the individual on what type of dance style they want to learn. Here's the thing that a lot of people need to understand though. You can learn any style you want, but the one thing that makes the moves look really good is not the technique as well. Technique is necessary to make the skills look good, but the biggest thing is your character, as I stated earlier. Because essentially, dancing is like an anime battle. It's like whoever has the most power or plot wins. So you kind of need to build your character in terms of dancing. Because an example is tutting. So I'm gonna go big screen for a second. Excuse me. Where is it? So I'm gonna use an example, which is tutting. If I'm tutting and I'm like super, my face is like bored, depressed, and whatnot, it won't look appealing at all to the people who are watching. However, if I'm smiling, it shows confidence. And which, that's what everybody needs when they start dancing. They need to build some type of character around them. So I always ask people, what do you bring to the table? What is your story? Because a story about yourself can be expressed through dancing. And the better you are explaining yourself and, expressing your character, the better the movesets will look. Even if you're a terrible dancer, as long as you can put up your character, it will give people a general feel or idea of who you are as a dancer. Because it's kind of funny, because I don't know, every beginner dancer will not have it, but once you get to an expert level or an advanced level, every dancer you meet that's good or that has experience will have an aura, like Dragon Ball Z. You know how in Dragon Ball Z characters have this power just flowing out of them, like Super Saiyan 2. Every dancer will eventually develop this. Even I have it, but this thing develops as your character builds up, as you as an individual gets better. So let's erase this and let's add another bullet point. Yes, character. I think people who are better at expressing themselves or showing a bit of themselves, they tend to develop dancing much faster. Now, luckily for me, in terms of the dance world, my older brothers, they were already into dancing already. So my exposure to the dance world was pretty young, actually. So I kind of caught on. And that's where character comes in. Now, as for style, if you don't know what style you want to do, I recommend freestyle. Yes. How do you freestyle? Well, honestly, freestyle is just freestyle. There's no right or wrong way to dance. As long as it looks good on you, that's all that matters for freestyle dancing. People will also call this freestyle hip hop, which is what I call it as well. Freestyle hip hop is basically just freestyle dancing. Do we have any dance animes? I have not watched any animes that revolve around dancing. Besides, most dance animes are like ballroom type of dancing. That's not really where I come from. Sorry, man, but I don't think there's any dancing animes in terms of hip hop. That is, like street style or hip hop. I don't think I can name any actually. But oh, excuse me. It's kind of funny because normally people would think anime has an influence on my dance style, but for me, no. Because I was already pretty much immersed into the hip hop world before it became anime influence. Even though, you know, freestyle hip hop is pretty interesting because you kind of have to, you can learn other dance styles, but you need to incorporate other styles to your own freestyle hip hop to make it work. So it's kind of like a loop. This is why I practice other dance styles. I actually started off learning krump. Krump is something that is very easy to learn, but is very hard to master. But that's where I started. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I started. So my first dance style ever was krump. Krump is spelled with a K, not with a C, by the way, the dance style. Krump is actually an acronym. It stands for Kingdom. Okay. Krump. This is basically krump right here. Kingdom, wait, krump, my pray. Oh, I forgot what krump stands for. God dang it. I know that this stands for mighty praise. Let me search it up what krump means again. Because I have not practiced krump dancing in so long. But krumping is such an amazing style. It is a dance style that cannot be replicated. You kind of need to have it, man. Okay, yeah, that's what it is. Kingdom, radically uplifting mighty praise. This is like the most aggressive dance style you can learn, but I can't spell today. What the heck? My brain is getting smoother by the second. Uplifting and the G's. Kingdom, radically uplifting mighty praise. Krump is actually very interesting, but this was my first dance style I learned was krump. So this is number 1, baby. That's a weird looking 1, but just don't mind it. That one looks like a 7. What the heck? Why is it? Oh, wait. Let me fix that. There it goes. Looks a little better. My second dance style I learned was hip hop. And funny thing, I tried to dance when I was younger with music instructor and flying steps. Holy smoly. Music instructor and flying steps. That nostalgia for a second. You can still learn to dance. No matter how old you are, you can still learn how to dance as long as you can slowly get the flexibility back. You don't need the strength per se, but you have a bit of flexibility. You should be able to do it. Now the hip hop, this is interesting because I was trained by women. Heck yeah, the ladies. The funny thing was that when I was learning to dance, the guys would not teach me how to hip hop. So a lot of the ladies basically taught me their dance styles of hip hop, which is pretty cool with me because hey, I get all the ladies. But no, I'm kidding. It was very hard to learn hip hop because it's not that the ladies were rough on me. It was just because it was hard for me to adapt to the style of hip hop. But goddamn, they taught me very well. And so so about me, my third dance style. I don't remember what it was. I learned so many dance styles. I don't remember my third one. It's crazy. It was footwork, but so this is kind of footwork is pretty interesting because there's different kinds of footwork. I learned a bit of sea walking with popping footwork. And also some others, but I don't want to include them because I don't. So my footwork is actually a small infusion of all of these. Footwork is interesting is because when people think of footwork, they think of shuffling, or shuffles and whatnot. This is actually what you will call teach you very well. Oh man, you're funny. But trust me, they taught me a good amount. So, in terms of shuffling, this is what you will call fancy footwork. Fancy footwork is pretty much footwork, but it's more for show. You wouldn't really use fancy footwork for competitive dancing. Even though there are dance competitions with fancy footwork, you don't really see it often. Because the reason why is because a lot of footwork battles it's I can't explain. It's a whole universe on its own. But yeah, I learned a lot of dance styles. But back to what I was saying though. The human body. Okay. We need to start off somewhere here. Normally, people will either start with footwork or arm work. And honestly, to be a good dancer, you need to find a good percentage. Shuffling. I just remember of one anime. I wonder what that would be. 50-50. This is what I recommend for the body proportions. Once you start dancing, 50%, if I can spell 50. So you want 50% to be upper body. And then you want the other 50 to be lower body. This is everybody's end goal for a quote unquote good dancer. Everybody says that to be a good dancer, you need to learn upper and lower body. This, to me, is not really true at all. I've seen a lot of good dancers that can only do upper body and barely any lower body movements, such as, little footwork, little to no footwork at all, and I still lose to them. Because those people, they're masters. But you kind of need to find what you want to get into first. Because I find that for me, I started off upper body. Like every sane person will. Because anime shuffle. So I mastered upper body first. This is what I first mastered. It's pretty interesting. And then I later on I wouldn't say I mastered footwork because I'll be sounding way too cocky if I said that, but I've gotten I wouldn't say decent. That's too low of me because I've gotten good. I guess good at footwork. That's pretty much how I am. And you're wondering, I am 60% upper body dancing and 40% lower body. This is my dance number, my magic number. So, majority of my dancing is still upper body, but I still use my legs as well. And even if you watch my dance tutorials or my dance practice videos for my students, yes, that is my magic number. I'm 60% upper body and 40% lower body. I would like to be an actual, to be a long-term dance instructor if possible, but for now it's more of a seasonal thing. So go and start dancing. Yoo-hoo. No, don't be afraid. Never be afraid to start dancing. Yep, that's well. I gotta tell you, don't be afraid, because you're going to make mistakes. Don't tell me you didn't watch that. Nope, I haven't watched that. I have sinned. I'll probably check it out later though. Just wait till after stream. I'll check it out. Well, as a matter of fact, let me check it out right now if I can. Hold up. Da 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 da. Huh? There were 2 anime adaptations. Studio as read. I'll check it out later, but not now. I still gotta teach. Don't be afraid. And then you want to... I can't spell today. Oh my gosh. I'm getting smoother by the second. Don't worry, I'll check out the anime later. But... expose your weaknesses. A lot of people have trouble doing this, exposing their weaknesses. I think there's no perfect dancer, so you're always going to have weaknesses. But in terms of now, this you're going to have to work on your weaknesses no matter what. But I think it only truly matters if you plan to compete on a competitive level. Like, if you're competing on any competitive level of hip-hop dancing, this is a must. And luckily for me, since I was a competitive dancer for a small bit of time, luckily I met some amazing people and I've learned a lot. It's kind of sad because, man, we had dreams, but it didn't work out. But that's an anime plot line. I don't want to dive into that. So, that pretty much concludes lesson 0.1. Like, expose my belly. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Just lose some weight if you need to. Get in shape. It takes time, but you'll get there. So, that was lesson 0. That was lesson point 0.0. And next time, let me... So, what's going to happen next time? Next time is going to be 0.1. We're going to be covering Stretching. If I can spell stretching, I can't spell today. So next time we're going to be covering stretching and what you call it? Stretching workouts, that's what it is. Workouts, or to be more specific, we'll just call this warm-ups. 'Cause I think warm-ups is a more fair analysis. Now, we're not going to start dancing the next time I live stream about dance lessons because we still have a lot to learn. But basically, today's lesson, 0.0 today, is to basically give you a brief understanding of factors. It just basically gives us a basic understanding. And then I'm going to answer some questions that a lot of dance students ask me because I get asked this so many times. And that is, how long does it take to get good? Okay, this is a big question everybody asks. Does it take to be good? And this is a very good question. So, I'm going to be completely honest. How long does it take to be good at dancing? And the honest truth is that it's going to take a while. Like, I say it'll take at least 2 to 3 months to actually start seeing progress. Now, how long does it take to be good on a professional level? That might take years. But honestly, to be able to get good at anything, you need to start practicing and start being consistent. Now, if you're a beginner, you're probably thinking that you should dance every day, but I honestly don't recommend that. I recommend for any beginner to dance whenever they feel it. Like, whenever they're feeling their best, because dancing is creativity. So, creativity. So whenever you're feeling creative, I think that's when it's best to dance. I personally find that dancing 2 to 3 times a week is plenty. 30 minutes each day. So in 1 week, I dance about an hour and 30 minutes. And that's really all I dance, because I find that if I force myself to dance, I don't feel like dancing. So in terms of dancing, I won't really try. I also found that when training individuals, some people will learn faster and others will learn slower. So you kind of need to find your own pace. And I find that in terms of dance schools, they don't train people individually, which is a problem. So some people are not going to learn as fast as others. So for me, whenever I teach a class, my class is very small. I need to talk about my class. They're great students, but so my current class has about 7 to 9 people. At the moment, there's going to be more later, but this is my current class. The primary number is 7 to 9 people. And I find that some learn faster than others. Is age a thing? Not really. It's really up to the individual. I find that individuals have different needs. So different people have different requirements. That's why I tend to post my YouTube videos on different things, such as environments, on where you dance, upper body, lower body, and whatnot. I have over 100 and something dance videos, but only like 5 or 6 of them are on YouTube, because I don't really need to post my videos unless it's an absolute like a necessity. But I hope that people who are inspired or who are wanting to dance don't give up. It will take time, and it will take a lot of mistakes, but eventually everyone has potential. Everyone. everyone has potential. The question I have is, how much potential does everybody have? You won't really know, because the only way to know is to step into the unknown. Push yourself. And every dancer dances differently. You can be a great dancer, but you can't really imitate others. You can only dance true to yourself. And man, this is a crazy but also a great lesson 0.0. Next time is going to be lesson 0.1, where we discuss basic stretching of what needs to be stretched and what needs to be worked on before you start dancing. So, with that, I'm the Kumo Sensei. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you missed the live stream. And also, feel free to check out my social medias if you want to know what I'm up to. And yeah, before we close out, maybe I should give you a little bit of a goodbye showcase, because I think it's earned, right? But here we go. Just follow your creativity. Whoop. See ya.